And I'll be back with more on those stories after 4:30.
Katie, thanks very much. Let's return to the mystery surrounding the location of the Malaysian Airlines flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Military sources are telling the Reuters news agency that the airliner crossed the country after its last contact with civilian air traffic control and could have crashed into one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, the Malacca Strait. Well, let's speak to Sean Mafford, who's an aviation analyst. He's in our Oxford studios. We're very grateful for your time here with us. What do you make of these reports from the Malaysian military?
Well, although they're not yet firmly confirmed, this is roughly what we've been saying for a day or so now, after they suggested that the aircraft had in fact turned back, although the air traffic control radars hadn't seen that, their military radars did see that, and eventually it went on to fly over part of Malaysia's landmass and presumably out to sea to the Malacca Straits, which puts a completely different complexion on what's going on. And one wonders, they must have known this for a significant amount of time. One wonders why they kept on searching in the original place up towards Vietnam.
Yes, I'll come back to that point in a moment because it's an important one. But can you think of any reason why it should leave its scheduled path by this far?
Yes, I can think of one or two reasons, but none of them that are particularly encouraging, bearing in mind that there was no message from the aircraft, there was no mayday call. Apparently there are various systems on board that might have been telling people on the ground what was going on were switched off. The fact that they saw the aircraft turn round was due entirely to the military watching them, and it suggests that either something really catastrophic had happened to the aircraft and they were turning back in order to try and land back somewhere in Malaysia, in which case, why didn't they call? That suggests that it was so catastrophic that they were their communications were removed as well.
You're talking there about the transponder
yes.
being turned off and then the plane flying for quite a distance whilst it was off. Apart from it, just explain to me, does it have to be physically turned off or can there be an event on board where you lose it somehow?
Well, it varies from airline to airline. It can probably be physically turned off, but I'm not sure, and I haven't found out from anybody whether Malaysia Airlines have said whether it's physically possible to turn it off. It probably is. But there may be a way in which it will turn itself back on again after a while. So that suggests that there was likely some kind of damage somewhere that caused it to go off.
If you're right, or if these reports from the military are correct, it does beg the question, exactly as you say, why they didn't pass that information on to the authorities, because the search areas are completely different. As you look at this many days on, what are your gut theories now? Well,
I think this may be, in the Far East, saving face is very important. I think there may have been a big error here, because after all, if the aircraft flew back across the landmass, then the military must have been viewing it at that stage as a rogue aircraft. It had stopped communicating with anybody. It was clearly a risk. So why didn't they do something about it? Or maybe they were doing something about it. It's possible, I suppose, that it's been shot down. We don't know that.
Really?
Well, there are plans to do these things. They must have thought that this was a rogue aircraft because it was out of contact. And they had no means of speaking to it. Now, when that happens, you have to take the appropriate precautions. We do in this country. We have Air Force patrols ready as a last resort to shoot an airliner down. So one can assume that maybe other nations do as well. So that is a distinct but very distant, I suspect, possibility. The other possibility is that it may have crashed in the jungle anyway, which may be why they can't find it. Although, as they haven't told us very much more, they may have a better idea of where it is. But of course, they haven't actually managed to find it yet, as far as we know.
OK, Sean Mafford, thanks very much for your time. Thank you.